We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Show Must Go On line. Today's guest is Billy Recce. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. This is so exciting.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Now, you have been having quite the last day and a half. Just talk about it.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It has been really crazy. We released yesterday the original concept album of a musical that I've been writing for the last 2 years called Little Black Book. It is an all-star concept album. Jessica Vosk, Mandy Gonzalez, Orfeh, Lilias White, Alice Ripley, Diana DeGarmo, Natalie Weiss, Vonzell Solomon, Sam Pauly, Brittany Johnston, Kuhu Verma. The list goes on. It has been such a labor of love. Oh my God. And we put it out yesterday. We charted at number 6 on the soundtrack charts, even though it's not a soundtrack. It is a cast album. I'm sure you and your viewers are very clear about that. But it's been such a pleasure to see people listening and sharing and hearing it and just spreading the good word about this show while we sort of, shop it around and get people excited about it.
100%. I've seen there's been so many positive feedback about it. And my friend John Riley, who's just on the series, says, I love it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, John.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you mentioned that cast, but oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How, that's all I'm going to say.
That is a great question. I don't know if I can answer it in full because I don't even know. No, what it is, I think the one thing about COVID was that people have been, more willing to work and take risks on, new young writers. And, with the downtime that a lot of these performers had, I think they were willing to, just take that leap and take that chance and, listen to the material and say, yeah, I like this. I want to help, use my platform to get it out there. And I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, I bet. And it is like you're saying, there have been so many negatives and heartbreaks with COVID. But on the other side, it's good to take the good with the bad. And sometimes there are these beautiful moments that it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can record anything. Anyone can listen to cast albums. I'm glad you made that specific.
Thank you.
We talk about that all the time.
I'm sure. No, it's exactly that. It is, it's been so hard to not be able to sit in a theater with, people, but I've gotten to meet so many incredible people that I don't think I would have met otherwise, and work with so many incredible people that I would not have, been able to work with otherwise. And it's given all of us that chance. It's so much easier to, say, let's sit down for 15 minutes on Zoom and meet each other, as opposed to, let's, do you want to go to Glass House Tavern for 90 minutes? And, it gets awkward and you're like, all right, check, please, come on. So it's been delightful, to sort of branch out and get my work out there and collaborate with people who I grew up obsessing over. I cried when Diana DeGarmo lost American Idol in season 3. I truly did. And Vonzell in season 4. They are my 2 favorite American Idol losers. So come on. But yeah, it's really been a dream come true. And again, taking the good with the bad. And I will say what's been really awesome about this COVID time, between TikTok and, concept albums, I think we're in a really cool era of transparency in the development of musicals, right? Because musicals have so often been created in a vacuum, right? In a private room of 100, 200 people at private readings and, private meetings and yada, yada. Whereas now, young musical theater writers can really take advantage of the platforms they might have on TikTok or on, Instagram or whatever, what have you, and get their work out there and show people who have been so starved for artwork over the last year that, we can all be involved in this process of making musical theater. It doesn't have to be exclusively behind closed doors. So I'm hoping that transparency stays because it's been really inspiring for me.
Yeah, I love everything you're saying. So much feedback from the community is like, I'm just remembering when I was growing up and I would be, obviously we didn't have nearly as much stuff as there is now, but I would stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning watching as many clips and Tony performances as possible and just begging for more interviews and performances. And all these TikToks and behind the scenes videos or Instagram lives or something like this, like as a kid, I would have eaten it up. So I'm so glad that the youth of today are having that experience.
100%. I mean, I grew up, you know, exactly like you, and sort of like drooling over, you know, the Tony performances on YouTube, and, you know, new musical theater writers coming up on YouTube. And so it's really cool to see sort of like TikTok and like Instagram lives and, you know, whatever's sort of take the place of, you know, those new musical theater writers being found on YouTube. You know, like it's because I grew up, you know, being like, oh, who's this like Joe Iconis person? Who are these like Pasek and Paul people like performing songs of the Zipper in 2006, you know, on YouTube? And I think we are sort of in this new golden age of young writers being discovered on, you know, these incredible online platforms. You know, I know I've gotten to get the word out about Little Black Book on TikTok, and people have gotten really excited about it on there. So, you know, it is a really, really great time to be a young musical theater writer. And I'm really fortunate to be in the place that I am and able to share new music in the way that I've been doing, you know?
That is so exciting. And yeah, of course, I love them. And so who are kind of your inspirations?
Yeah. I'm a huge William Finn nerd. Falsettos is my favorite show. Got me through high school. Obsessed with all of his stuff. I mean, there are several cast albums I could probably sing, you know, front to back, and most of them are William Finn cast albums. I love him. I love his sort of idiosyncratic, character-driven stuff, and that sort of is what inspired me as an early writer in high school. And a lot of the early material I put out, I was sort of like emulating him and his work. And then I'm also really inspired by the works of Randy Newman, who, you know, everyone sort of knows as You Got a Friend in Me, but his solo work also sort of features these sort of satirical character portraits of like the worst people possible, but like with really just hooky, fantastic melodies and orchestrations. And, you know, I'm really obsessed with taking complex or, you know, terrible people and creating really like delicious melodies and songs for them, and sort of making you fall in love for, you know, 3 minutes with the worst kind of person. And then after it's done, you're like, oh my God, wait, that person is awful. You know, I sort of love that like 180 that you can give an audience. And a lot of my work has sort of been based on that principle of sort of giving the spotlight to people whom like the tabloids have sort of two-dimensionalized, and sort of giving them an empathetic, you know, three-dimensional portrayal.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I've been doing a deep dive yesterday and today listening to your music, and some of it, just like the concept of it, I'm like, this is very interesting. And from a perspective that I wouldn't have guessed. And I love that that's like your point, and that you're like, no, I'm going to like the whole like meme about like this person knows the assignment, like, you know, the assignment.
Thank you. I love that you brought that up. That is so. My favorite version of that meme today was the one that I saw with Sharpay Evans, not Sharpay, with Ashley Tisdale, and all of Ashley Tisdale's work, because she did always understand the assignment. That is who I want to write a Broadway musical for. I don't think it's Little Black Book, but it'll be something. I want Ashley Tisdale on Broadway immediately.
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it I am sort of just inspired by, you know, taking the prompt and running with it, right? I'm not really interested in songs that could exist in the context of any musical. You know, I'm really inspired by people who are individual and who are standing center stage and telling you a story that only they can tell you, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's funny you bring up Joe Iconis, because I was thinking of his amphibian song and your lizard man song.
Sure. Yeah. You know, well, you know, Joe is sensational, and you know, we are both Long Island musical theater writers. So, you know, he was a big influence for me growing up, and you know, because he was in that sort of generation of the YouTube musical theater writers, right? You know, so his career is honestly something that I have emulated since I was a young kid. I was like, so that is what a new musical theater writer looks like, you know? So in everything that I've done, I've sort of been like, what was Joe Iconis doing, when he was at my point, because I think he's brilliant. And I just think his career trajectory is really inspiring.
Love that. Yeah. For anyone who has seen the series or like has followed my last few years, love Joe Iconis and family. Joe and Lauren Marcus were my first guests on the series.
Oh, great.
And the first guest on B-Way Show, the podcast. I basically turned these interviews into the podcast, and I love them so much. So
yeah, they're so brilliant. And again, he's somebody else who really takes quirky, idiosyncratic characters and makes them sing, in a different way, but in a just in such, it's I love his writing, just so delicious.
Exactly. So someone else who loves his writing and your writing is Slimbo, who's my adorable pup, and you will be hearing him barking as he is right now.
I can't wait. Wow, he's got a lovely voice. Oh, does he sing as well?
He does. He's really, really popular.
There you go. I love it. Popular. Perfect.
It's the first one that came to mind, which is great. I don't know. We've been talking, I think because of Brittany Johnson, and I have her scenery like globe, like the ball that she signed some things from Wicked. It's really cool.
Cool. Yeah, right on. She's so brilliant. And she, the sweetest person. I cannot wait until she has like 6 Tonys. I mean, she's going to be huge. She's amazing.
Yeah, as I was listening to Little Black Book, all of those singers, I know their voices, but some of them I was like, oh, who's this? And then I would look at it and I'm like, oh, that's this person? Yeah. I felt like they perfectly understood the assignment. They totally dove in. And I mean, what we spoke about just like how crazy it is, but beyond that, these are really brilliant artists that you're working with. And I know this isn't your first time working with some high profile people. What's that process like?
Yeah, well, so Little Black Book is structured as a 1-woman rock concert with 3 backup girls. So, in a final production of the show, it'll be a 50-something woman, standing center stage and singing these 11 songs. But for this assignment, we were like, I want to find, me and my director and co-conceiver and co-producer of this album, Will Nunziata, we wanted to find 11, incredible individual women who sort of represented the shades of Heidi's life, right? We didn't want to be bound by just having one person on this concept album or having, one type of person on this concept album. We wanted to, really run the gamut of people who could sort of empathize with a moment in Heidi's life and tell that story. And what kind of voices could really make these songs sing. So, I mean, the process was incredible. I mean, the entire thing was recorded remotely. So, we were working on Zoom with these women and, over a dozen musicians as well were all recorded remotely. And then all put together after that. So, it was truly a labor of love. I mean, we'd been working on this album specifically for the last 6 or 7 months. So it's really nice that, again, people are listening to it and enjoying it. And, I'm really happy that the ladies who are singing on the album are also happy with their performances, because I just think they're all so amazing and they come across so gorgeously. And, a lot of them too, I think, on this album sound, they're not sort of typecast into roles that they normally would be, right? They're sort of getting something that they might not always get the chance to do with some of their material. So it's been a dream. And again, I'm still like pinching myself over who these, the people on this album are. So it's been a ball. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Yeah. It was funny too, because Mandy Gonzalez is going on this whole press tour for Fearless. Right. And then I'm looking on her page and I'm seeing this. And that was also kind of that switch to me that I was like, okay, I really need to listen to this because Mandy's been on the series, which was also like a pinch me moment. I'm obsessed with her. Right. And just what was the original concept for you that was like, you know what, this is a story that really needs to be told? Yeah, well, so I, like I said, I have always sort of been inspired by sort of 3-dimensionalizing these, 2D characters in the tabloids, right? My first show was a musical called Balloon Boy, which was about the 2009 Balloon Boy case where a father said his son was stuck in a homemade weather balloon. So that's like has always been sort of my bread and butter and what drives me, and sort of
empathizing with these sort of over the top crazy people. You know, Heidi Fleiss was around before my time, but I had always sort of known about her story, and you know, just because of like that's the kind of stuff that I was really excited about and interested in as a you know, young little gay kid on Long Island. But yeah, so a Hollywood Reporter article came out maybe 3 years ago about how she now lives in the deserts of Nevada with 40 parrots. And I was like, that is the character of a musical right there. And it's not even like, I was like, that's not, we knew, me and my collaborator knew from the get-go that did not have to be a big musical. This is a musical where all we needed to hear was Heidi and her story, you know, and to give this incredible person a chance to stand center stage and just tell it like it is, right? And have her Hedwig and the Angry Inch moment. So yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of thing I'm obsessed with, giving these characters who might normally be, you know, the character actors or have one good song in the middle of act 2 or whatever, the spotlight, right? And allowing them to stand center stage and be the heroes of their own musical. Because that's what the show is, you know, when it's produced, it's going to be a woman of a certain age, you know, allowed to be a rock star and a leading lady for 90 minutes. And it's, you know, that's something that I, as an audience member, would absolutely want to see. So I'm hoping others are as well.
Love, love, love. And if I'm remembering correctly, the title, is it Cage Song?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I love that tie-in, and it feels so appropriate.
Thank you. Right. Well, you know, because Heidi Fleiss, one, obviously, she is a big proponent for macaw rights or you know, what have you. And she's very stern about how nobody should live their life in a cage, right? So when she spent 3 years in prison, she came out being like, that is not the life for anybody. And, you know, for one reason or another, she ended up at parrots, you know, and, you know, because parrots have, if I'm remembering this correctly, parrots have the exact same lifespan as a human. So when you keep a parrot in a cage, you know, you're leaving them in for 90 years, and that's their entire world, right? So I think Heidi is somebody, as, you know, as illegal as what she did was, I think she is somebody with an incredible moral compass, you know, between the activism and, you know, the giving up of the glamour and glitz of Hollywood to take care of animals who nobody else was taking care of. And of course, the fact that she has never revealed the names of the people in her little black book, you know, that she has had that sort of sense of dignity is so impressive, and not something I don't think somebody in her shoes would do today. You know, I think it's something singularly Heidi and her situation that sort of has led her to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I read that article you're talking about earlier today, because I'm like, I feel like I should know a little bit more background. Yeah. And especially as a journalist, hearing that someone won't reveal their sources, to me is like, that is respect. That is, because that's all, at the end of the day, like if you do an interview and someone says like, please don't air this, or please don't say that, like, that's all we have is our dignity and our name. And so I think regardless of all the other things that are maybe questionable, or you know, we don't have to get into that. I do think that that's really impressive and something that I admire for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I will say too, even, you know, the elements of her, you know, sex ring that she had, she was a good boss to these women. You know, she revolutionized the sex industry because she was respecting her employees. You know, she was not she was not a pimp who was taking advantage of the people who was working for her. And I think that is something really commendable too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so much going on in the news today about sex work and legalize it, right? Without me, I don't know. Sometimes I feel weird saying like, without being too political, but also we have to be, because sex workers are humans. And I think too often people look down upon certain people, and it's awful for no reason. And people look down at people for their gender identity, for their ethnicity, for the color of their skin. And honestly, I mean, we're Jewish, right? That's
I'm actually Italian, so same thing, but
I I was getting Jewish Long Islander vibes, but
like I'm saying, same thing at the end of the day,
but I always say, like, if we don't speak up, if people who have this experience, this history of it, don't speak up, then who's going to? So it just it feels, in this time of Black Lives Matter and Stop AAPI hate and all like all these different aspects, that you can't talk about certain things and then also not bring this up because it is essential.
Right. Exactly. And that was another, reason for me wanting to write this musical, was to destigmatize sex work, and I think, we can say, oh, we don't want to get political. It's not a political piece, but I think this piece is inherently political because it is giving a sex worker 90 minutes to stand center stage and tell her story, and to show the audiences that come that she is human. There's not enough musicals about that, and so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think destigmatizing sex work is so important. I mean, look, we, especially now, I mean, where everybody is on OnlyFans, and, I don't know if you have kids watching, but everybody's watching porn right now, because everyone is just at home all the time. So, I think it's important to remember that those people in some way are essential, right? And are keeping people going,
Yeah. And I think the political aspect of it is almost what people perceive as bad or good sex work, which is also absurd, right? If these people are doing it on their own accord and they are adults who, this is what they want to be doing or need to, be doing, but not being told to, trying to think of the right words to say, as long as they're not being forced to do it and this is what they want to do, they're adults.
Right. Exactly. And Heidi Fleiss, Heidi Fleiss was her and her mentor were actually, her mentor more so was an informant for the LAPD, and was the reason that she never got caught was because she was turning in pedophiles, which it's like, I think that is amazing too, right? That, these Heidi and her mentor, had that moral compass that, again, they were not taking advantage of anybody. It was completely consensual, and these were women who knew what they wanted, what they were doing, and were staking their claim about it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all this. And you've clearly done all of your homework and research. And how much research goes into something like this?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I poured over, basically everything that exists on Heidi in the public record, from newspaper clippings to, interviews to podcasts to, made for TV movies. Everything that is there, I definitely took in. And, the things that I had to imagine were what Heidi might have been going through during all these things, and all these times. And, she is a very outspoken person. She definitely has said, what she was feeling during a lot of this. But, there is some filling in the blank there. And I think that is what makes her such a fascinating character, because she was a 26-year-old when she was at the, height of controlling Hollywood, so you have to wonder, what would like a vulnerable 26-year-old be feeling like, to, be simultaneously on top of the world and, have a target on your back.
That's when you say the age, and I'm just thinking of my age, I'm like, oh wow, that's woo.
Yeah. No, it truly is, she had a fantastic sense of business acumen, right? She was a shrewd businesswoman. She knew what people wanted. And even from the time she was like 16, she had created sort of like a babysitter ring in her hometown of her and, several of her, high school friends, just sort of like, not to use the word pimping each other out, reductively, but she was basically pimping her girls out to go babysit for her, and she would take whatever, 40%. So she always sort of had her pulse on, what the hustle was. And I think it's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. So interesting. So I feel like we could keep talking about this, but I do want to make sure we also explore your life, and you've done so many wonderful things. So let's start at the very beginning. A very good place
To start. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's hear your origin story. Really, we spoke a little bit about it, but what got you into theater? What were your spark moments and all that jazz?
Yeah. So I grew up, on Long Island. I was a child actor. That makes it sound like I booked things. I did not book things. I booked regional community theater productions, and I went to open calls for, Broadway shows. Always cut after the first round. Always. But my favorite day of rehearsal as a kid was always getting the sort of hardbound script, sort of, going through the pages of this physical manifestation of the show that we were about to do was sort of just so exciting to me. And, even as I was doing those shows, I was like, I want to make these. I want to make the books that, that these people are going to be acting out, So I started writing musicals at a very young age. I was 9 or 10. And, I didn't know how to transcribe music at the time. So I had all these songs sort of in my head as I was writing, these musicals during math class. And, I would literally write a musical every 2 months. That was what I did for fun, So I've always known that this was what I wanted to do. And then, like I said, the first show that sort of, I guess, put me on the map, if there is a map, I don't know, was Balloon Boy. And I wrote the first version of that in middle school when that event actually was happening. I had my middle school theater teacher was starting a theater company outside of the school and was like, oh, I want to produce your Balloon Boy musical. So when I was 13, we were doing the first full production of a show that I had written, which was crazy. I didn't know how to, as I said, I didn't know how to write sheet music at the time. So the entire orchestration was just kazoos and slide whistles. So instead of Balloon Boy the musical, it was Balloon Boy the Kazoosicle. That's canon. This is true. But yeah, and then Balloon Boy sort of fed my musical theater writing hunger for the next couple years. And I had a really supportive high school theater teacher in a really writing-based theater program who sort of was sending my show out to different, festivals and high school writing competitions and everything. And, from there we went to the, International Thespian Festival in Lincoln, Nebraska with Balloon Boy, and a high school in Colorado did it for their fall musical when I was still in high school. And then senior year, it got into Nymph. And that was the first full production of Balloon Boy. And that sort of started things, So I've always been sort of priding myself on being ahead of the game, not because it's a hustle, but because it's what I love to do. It's just I love telling stories. I love writing musicals. And, I love being the weird young kid who is a musical theater writer,
I love that. I wrote down the Kazoosicle. I think that is amazing.
There will be a musical about that one day. There really will. I will use Kazoosicle in something.
Please do. I will share it and report about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark my word. You heard it here first.
Oh my God. Too much. I must say, the overture of Balloon Boy the Kazoosicle was the opening trumpet line from Chicago, but with the kazoo. It was, wow, 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 but with the kazoo. So it was excellent. Everything that you needed to be covered in a Kazoosicle was covered. We knew the assignment.
You knew the assignment.
Yeah.
Living your best life.
That's it.
So then going from there, how do we get to a musical about Star Wars?
Yeah, so I went to Fordham at Lincoln Center. Really cool, small program. There was 8 of us over the 4 years. I studied playwriting. It's not a musical theater program by, any stretch of the imagination. It's a straight acting program. But, I wanted to go to school in the city because I wanted to continue to be doing stuff outside of school. Right. And I liked that Fordham gave me 3 productions. So, I sort of found my tribe of kids at Fordham who could carry a tune and who could, sing, and who were, the musical theater kids who just happened to be studying, straight acting. So I was sort of hustling and, doing 54 Below shows of my stuff when I was in college, and, putting an album out and, creating original musicals with my merry band of snowflakes, as I call them. at Fordham. And that all sort of led me to getting hired to write the score for a musical about Star Wars. I was introduced to the producer actually, I was introduced to him at a conference called Stage the Change, which is an organization that I have been involved with since high school. It's sort of a theater as a social voice organization for high school students about sort of writing, human rights and civil rights based theater pieces. So I met the producer at this conference through my old high school theater teacher. And he said, "Oh, I'm doing this musical about Star Wars. Do you like Star Wars?" And I was like, "Yes, I like Star Wars. I wrote my Common App essay about Star Wars when I was applying to colleges. Did not get me into Princeton, but it got me a musical about Star Wars. Thank you very much." So I got hired for that my senior year of college, and we opened the show a couple days before graduation. And up until the pandemic, it had been running for a year off-Broadway, which is crazy for a commercial off-Broadway production. But it's a really sweet, funny, quirky show. I really love that it's not just like a retelling of Star Wars. What it is about is 3 fans who love Star Wars so much, they're putting on a Star Wars musical, and it sort of like goes to shit. And, they sort of have these conversations about fandom and the toxicity of the fandom sometimes and what's great about it. And again, it's sort of, even though I was hired for it, it does sort of fit into sort of my canon of like the stories I like to tell, because it is sort of shedding light on these like Comic-Con bros, right? These characters who like you never would have thought would be the lead in a musical, but sort of like having in-depth, nuanced conversations about fandom and about fan culture, specifically in the Star Wars fandom. It's a really delightful show, and I can't wait for it to come back once things start to reopen.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so funny. We were talking off camera before about that I'm familiar with it because I filmed the performance at Broadway and Bryant Park.
Yes. No, I know. That's what I was saying when we got connected over email. I was like, I know Broadway show because she filmed a musical about Star Wars at Broadway and Bryant Park. That was a really fun performance. And again, it was like such like a pinch me moment because I had been, a kid growing up watching these Broadway and Bryant Park videos online. And to be, 21 years old and to see, a show that I wrote at Broadway and Bryant Park was insane, truly insane. I got to do the sound check because our leading lady was running late that day. So I got up on stage and I was the leading lady for sound check. And I was really living my gay boy 13-year-old dreams there. It was awesome.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, Broadway and Bryant Park has been one of my favorite things, like truly forever. As a kid, I would like go, I'm from Westchester, so very similar, go in on a Thursday, have lunch, sit and see some musicals, and then covering it. I'm like, this is the best. I film these performances, and then to this day on my YouTube channel, those are the videos that get by far the most views. I mean, people just love to see Broadway and Bryant Park because it gives that accessibility to Broadway actors, and it also gives a lot of times like the understudy this opportunity.
I was about to say,
it's amazing.
That's what's so exciting about it is that, because theater disappears as it happens, we are not always able to see the understudies and the swings. So with something like Broadway and Bryant Park, like that is the record of an understudy's performance in the show. I think it's so cool.
I love that, the record of an understudy's performance.
There you go. There's so much untold history of musical theater, and I think this last year has been sort of revealing in that we showing us that we have to do the work and do the research and maintain the history of musical theater, because if we don't, it disappears, right? So something like Broadway and Bryant Park is, honestly more important than it seems, right? I mean, it is our record of who these people are and what their performances were like in these shows.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. And now I'm getting all emotional again. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'll go back to the kazoos. That'll make you stop crying.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah, exactly. So you spoke about the what did you call them? The merry group of snowflakes?
Yeah. My band of snowflakes. Yeah.
I love it. So then talk how that turned into the perks of being a snowflake.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been a lot of my early stuff, like standalone music and things in college was like very like political and satirical and biting. And, you know, and that was sort of to emulate like my heroes like Randy Newman and Tom Lehrer and, you know, Tim Minchin. And at the time, of course, you know, the big term going around for, you know, liberal kids was snowflakes. And, you know, we were sort of willing to reclaim that. I thought it was super funny. So we had been, you know, me and my college friends and, you know, some friends from growing up, you know, sort of my group of musical theater kids at Fordham, right? You know, sort of became my snowflakes, along with my incredible musicians at all my shows. And, you know, all the concerts that we did during college were sort of under this, like, you know, Billy Reese's Snowflake Jamboree bracket or whatever, you know. And the group has sort of grown exponentially since we started, you know. I mean, I really love this idea of a family of, you know, repertory players, you know, sort of doing these sort of bawdy and over the top and ridiculous concerts and sort of blurring the lines between theater and cabaret. You know, and I think my last Snowflake show before the pandemic, we probably had like maybe close to 24, you know, kids doing it, which was awesome. And I also really love that, you know, one, that the group is, you know, expanding, ever expansive, and, you know, more people are always coming in, but two, that it gives a spotlight to young talent who might not be able to, you know, have songs written for them otherwise. You know, one thing I really loved about being like the musical theater guy at Fordham was that I was like able to take that and write for friends of mine and write shows for friends of mine, and build shows around kids, you know, giving them an experience that they would not have for years and years, you know, and really making them, you know, building them a star vehicle, I think is a really cool lesson that, you know, how many programs do you really get that in? So that's what the Snowflakes are. And then we were awarded a research grant from Fordham to do an album of some of the songs from it. So a bunch of the songs that we had been doing at all these concerts in college are on that, along with all the musicians and, you know, friends of mine who had been in these shows. And it's a really cool sort of time capsule of what we were doing at the time. And I'm really excited to, you know, continue to do Snowflake shows in one way or another. But yeah, that was an assignment that I'm really proud of. And again, it's sort of a historical record that I'll always be able to look back on and be like, oh, this was what we were doing in college. And it was, you know, it was the best. Yeah.
That is really special and something that not a lot of people get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It was so funny at Fordham because like during the open houses, there would always be, you know, one parent who would raise their hand and be like, do you do musicals here? And everybody would look to me and like, I would be the person who had to answer that question. And we'd be like, no, but I do. So yeah, I mean, I really miss, you know, being in a theater and a concert space with, you know, these friends and collaborating with them. And I look forward to continuing to build stuff around for them. And, you know, as well as bringing in sort of the more established people as well in this Snowflake fold, you know. Yeah.
So speaking of collaborating, I have to ask you about, in your bio, you talk about like collaborating with Bernadette Peters and company. Please.
Yeah. So I was when I was in college, I was a co-songwriter for The Birds and the BS with Jordan Roth, which was Jordan Roth's sort of musical web series, which was a really cool experience because I got, you know, because I was 19 and I was like co-writing songs for Bernadette and Mandy Patinkin and Laura Benanti and Titus Burgess. And, you know, they wouldn't know who I am at this point, but it was awesome. You know, I mean, I mean, how many times does a 19-year-old get to say like, oh, I'm writing something that I know Bernadette Peters is going to sing in a couple weeks? Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. And I was so thankful to Jordan and to the entire team for having me on board for that. And I think, again, that's like a really cool record of the work that I was lucky enough to be able to do during college. Yeah.
I love that journey for you.
You know, I loved it too. We had fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So do you have any other crazy stories of either a show that you saw or that you were a part of that just it's a story you always tell at parties?
Of a show that I saw, oh my God. Okay, well, the first one that comes to mind was I saw the 2010 revival of La Cage with my mom and my brother when Harvey Fierstein stepped in for Jeffrey Tambor. And did you see that revival? No. Okay. So in the best of times at the end, Harvey Fierstein sits, center stage and then takes the hand of somebody sitting at a table next to him and like sort of sways along for, 2 minutes. And at this particular matinee, he took the hand of this like 90-year-old man and was sort of swaying along with him while singing this song. And when Harvey was like, all right, that's enough, put the hand down, blah, blah, blah. The man reached back up and grabbed Harvey's breast. And I will in a 2021 lens, that's not great. But in 2010, the cast like was laughing so hard that the show literally had to stop for like 3 minutes. And that is like my favorite, like only in the theater moment that I can think of, because like Harvey Fierstein was literally like signaling to the band, like, I can't, I like, we have to stop. And it was amazing, And I think stuff like that, now that I think about it, sort of had a larger impact on me and the kind of work that I want to do than I realized, because it's just sort of that like anything goes, concert, raunchy cabaret feel, where you're always sort of competing with the risotto balls and the horny old man in the front row, like that's the kind of work that I love doing, where it's like, if your song doesn't work in a cabaret setting, then it will never work anywhere, because like if people are not paying attention in a small intimate cabaret and they're more concerned with their mac and cheese, like that's how you should head back to the drawing board. So yeah, that's a bit of a tangent.
No, I love it. But when you're competing with mac and cheese, like you better be good.
Right. Exactly. I mean, come on. I mean, I will say the 54 Below mac and cheese is the best mac and cheese in Manhattan. So and I do miss it desperately. That's what I need right now in my life. Man.
Same. I know their food. It's the type of thing that you have to remember. I need to get there early so that I can eat and not be totally distracted while the performance is going. Because I don't know about you, but for me, I always feel so awkward if I'm like reaching for a fry and someone's like so emotional.
Right. Well, you have to be like very careful about the fry reaches and very strategic. I feel like at 54 Below, I'm always like planning out like my schedule of fry reaches, like I need to know the set list beforehand and be like, okay, like they're singing like Back to Before, I'll grab the fry during the key change, like I really have to do a lot of work, but it's always worth it. It's always
Such
worth
a pro.
it. But there is work to be done.
There is. So we have an audience question here from John. What's one book or movie you'd love to turn into a musical?
I have 2 answers. One that I would love to do one day and one that I can't do because somebody else is doing it. But the one that I can't do is Death Becomes Her, which since I was a kid, I was like, that's the musical I want to write. I think it is just 2 iconic divas on stage. I would kill to write that score. And then a movie, there's actually I'll say the one movie. But there's this film from like the early 2000s called Death to Smoochie, which is about like sort of like a gang war between children's TV shows. And there's like already songs in it. And it's just like so like over the top and like crazy. So yeah, I think that's the show that I would kill to get the rights for. Nobody would see it because nobody knows what the hell Death to Smoochie is. It got like $2 at the box office and a wad of chewed up gum, but I think that's the one. I would say
talk about a passion project.
I would also say a movie that came out this year that I was watching and I was like, that's a musical. I don't know if it's my story to tell, but that is a musical. Is a film called Swallow that came out. Have you seen it? It's about a housewife who said, there you go. Maybe I will, John. Maybe I will. Thank you. But there's this film called Swallow about a housewife who, in order to cope with like her abusive marriage, starts swallowing like objects, like thumbtacks and like marbles and shit. And it's like sort of like a psychological horror thriller movie. But I'm like, that is a musical. Like that is a character I want to spend 2 hours with. And like, because the movie is very, it's a brilliant movie. I believe Haley Steinfeld is the lead of the film. But you know, we don't like hear her thoughts as she's like, oh, I'm going to swallow this thumbtack. And I'm like, that's a song I want to write. I want to write the like, I'm going to swallow a thumbtack song. I know, it's crazy. It is like a hard movie to watch. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get the rights for that.
I'm going to support you, and
you don't have to see it.
No. Right. I'm gonna cheer you on.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna do it at Broadway in Bryant Park. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think we're gonna get that booking. No.
Oh my God, they'd be like, next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get like 8 measures into the song and get booed off. It'll be great.
Oh my God. That's too funny. Thank you, Jackie. Love this interview.
Hey, thanks, Jackie. Jackie put us together for those viewing and said we should be talking. So thank you for putting us together, Jackie.
Thank you so much. I love this. Yes, this is great. And a perfect combination of like really enjoying your work. And I love diving deeper.
Thank you. I got a lot of shit to say, you know.
Perfect. This is a great time to say it. So this is the time of the interview where we always ask about a nonprofit or charity that you'd like to shout out. Yeah,
well, I sort of shouted them out already today, but I do want to talk a little bit more about Stage the Change, which is a sensational organization started by my high school theater teacher, Ruthie Pincus, at Hauppauge High School, which is the high school I went to. When I was in 10th grade, we sort of started this organization together by writing pieces about bullying and bringing them to, you know, the local middle school. And from there, it sort of turned into something so much larger. And I think at the last conference, there was, you know, over 1,000 kids there, all from across Long Island and all different parts of Long Island, and a really diverse community of kids coming in and, you know, taking workshops and seeing that their creative voices do matter. And, you know, that, you can change the world with your art, which I think is so important. And it also sort of shows young kids that it's not just about, you know, doing the spring musical every year. It's not just about Shrek the musical, right? Like there is more to making theater and making art. And like, you can sort of, you know, go into those toothy subjects that you as a young person, might be stressing over, terrible things going on in the world, and you can put pen to paper and write something about it. So Stage the Change, I'm not sure what their website, I think it just might be stagethechange.org, but fantastic nonprofit organization. And if you are a theater kid in New York State, please check it out. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Of course. Thanks for asking. Yeah, that sounds great. And, you know, it's also making me think of beyond, like, as you're saying, there's stuff beyond the High School Musical, musical, ha ha ha. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's always going to be there. It's also like there's stuff beyond Broadway and off-Broadway that so many people get so focused on this goal or the West End or, you know, whatever it might be. And sometimes like the 54 Below shows or the theater festivals, like those are the most memorable because you're so close to everyone. Exactly. You know, I truly miss it. I actually saw Lilias White perform at the Green Room last week. She was the first sort of in-person person doing a show, and it was, you know, it was actually super safe, reduced capacity. Everybody was wearing masks and no eating in the theater, temperature checks at the door, which that was fun. I walked up, I was like, ooh, I get this iPad where they tell me I was having the time of my life bouncing between like 97.9 and like 98.1. I was like, well, what is it? What is it though, Green Room? No, it was really awesome. And yeah, I just miss that cabaret atmosphere, and I can't wait to do it again. You know, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be doing some more Snowflake jamborees, you know. Can't wait. And I have to say, I'm super jealous. Of seeing Lilias. Yeah, she was amazing. And she's on the Little Black Book album. And she, you know, she sounds exactly the same as she did 30 years ago. like her voice is untouched, unparalleled. She has just taken such beautiful care of her instrument, and it shows. She is a legend for a reason. I mean, and that was insane getting to work with her, because my favorite Disney movie is Hercules, as you might tell from the mug that I'm drinking right now. It is a Hercules mug. So I was like, oh my God, I'm like literally like, you know, sitting here talking to the main muse from Hercules. Hello. So, but yeah.
When she and Andre DeShields did the verses, I lost it. That was giving me everything.
Yeah, just the best. She's a legend for a reason. Yeah.
So true. Are there any other pinch me moments that you want to share with everyone?
Oh God, about Little Black Book specifically, or
if that comes to mind, or just like you've had a great career, so whatever.
Oh man, pinch me moments. You know, I will say the first like real pinch me moment that I had in my career is going back to when a high school in Colorado did Balloon Boy when I was in high school. I guess it was my senior year. And, you know, I was like applying to colleges and stuff. And I was like, am I really like applying to colleges for like writing? Like, is that like really what I'm doing right now? Like, what? Do people do that? And then I went to go see, it was their fall musical, and I went to go see it. And, you know, they like flew me out for it. I said, I don't want any money, but it'd be great if you could, you know, fly me out to do this. And the second I like stepped out of the car driving up to the high school, the entire cast of like 100 kids were there, and they were like going crazy and like cheering me on. And it was like, that was like the real like first like pinch me moment thing where I'm like, oh my God, like people like actually like what I'm writing and like care about what I'm writing and like want to like perform it, you know? And anytime, you know, look, obviously it's not about the applause, you know, but like anytime I'm able to like do something that like young people enjoy performing, I mean, that's like the dream of mine, because it goes back to that like idea of me being a young kid in the community theaters, like, you know, just loving the text of the work that I was doing, you know? So to be sort of applauded and recognized by young people as the person who made the text of the work that they were doing is something that I still sort of cherish.
They like me. They really like me.
I truly felt like Sally Field. If Sally Field wrote Balloon Boy, that's what I felt. Yeah.
The crossover of our dreams.
I think so. I think we should do it. I'll make some calls. Yeah.
Awesome. As long as it's with a kazoo, I'm there.
100%. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Sally Field is a really good kazoo player. That's like a fact about. No, it's not a fact. That's
historically
historically proven excellent kazoo player. Yeah.
So let's make sure everyone knows where they can find you on social media, and definitely like this is the time to promote as much as you would like.
Well, please, first and foremost, listen to Little Black Book. It is streaming everywhere. Stream it on iTunes, on Spotify. Please rate and review on iTunes. And if you have a couple of dollars to throw, please purchase it on Amazon or iTunes. I'm all about making my work accessible. But the best way to support young musical theater writers is to buy their work. So if you are able to, please do that. The CD will be out on April 30th with Broadway Records. So if you are a physical media whore like I am, then, you know, you will like that CD. It's a gorgeous package design. And you can follow me at, I believe, the Billy Recce on Instagram, because I changed it to the when everybody was doing that in like 2018. I was like, I guess I'm the Billy Recce. And then I think I'm Billy Recce everywhere else. Billy Recce on TikTok. I'm putting, you know, a lot of sort of musical comedy content out on TikTok. But yeah, so please follow and share and subscribe and the whole kit and caboodle.
Woohoo. Yes, I'm very new to the TikTok, but I will follow you there. And, you know, it's a lot of video performance. Oh, maybe I can share the video I filmed of a musical about Star Wars there.
There you go. There you go. That's what we need. Hello. Yeah, no, it's the Wild West, but I think the algorithm is the best algorithm for young creators.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have to have a platform for people to see it, you know?
True.
So yeah.
Oh, I love that. So just as my quick plugs, you can find me at BWay Show. That's BWAYSHO, as you see here through the wonderful banner that Chelsea Hill, Illustrating Diva, made for me. You can also find BWay Show podcast. And if you're like, whoa, I love this series and you want to become a Showtreon, that's patreon.com/BWay Show. Kabow. That's your little thing. But I do want to just echo what you said about subscribing and rating and reviewing. You know, I do make that joke sometimes, like subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe, rate, review on my podcast. But it's a free and easy way to support the people that you like. And
100%.
It's easier than you think. It takes 2 seconds and highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If that is, you know, the least that we can do is sort of just support each other that way. So yeah, please follow.
So is there anything else you came into today wanting to make sure to say to all your fans?
Wanting to say to all my fans, no, I think that's it. I mean, I would like to shout out Amazon for this lovely popsicle shirt that I'm wearing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Target for the hat. Right. I have to shout out the designers, of course. I think this sweater was from H&M. So thank you, H&M. Yeah. Thanks for sponsoring me.
Yep. Thank you to our sponsors that are non-existent, but if you would like to get in touch.
Truly, honestly, my sponsor is always H&M. I mean, as it is for any gay under 30, you know, this is sponsored by H&M in some way or another.
Yes. I also wanted to just quickly talk about the artwork. I love the artwork on the album.
Oh, isn't it amazing? That is designed by my friend Austin Spiro, an incredible graphic designer and actor in his own right. So please follow him on social and see his incredible work. But yeah, isn't it so sexy and mysterious? Ooh, I'm obsessed with it.
It's so good.
Obsessed with it.
Totally like fits what the album is. And even if you don't really know too much, you're like, I'm at least intrigued enough to listen. And that's a perfect concept album artwork.
That's exactly what we wanted to do. We were like, we wanted to confuse some people. Like I didn't want to just do like the Little Black Book, because that's a little too easy. And it also puts an emphasis on who Heidi was and not who she is. So I think Austin did a beautiful job of taking the bird, you know, sort of metaphor, because at the end of the day, the show is about a woman who is sort of reclaiming her story. She's a phoenix rising from the ashes. She is, you know, spreading her wings and sort of taking flight again. So yeah, I'm glad you shouted that out, because it's a gorgeous cover. Yeah.
Really, really is. And so then, just to be obvious, I mean, what was that final decision about the name of the album?
Yeah, well, I mean, the name of the show is Little Black Book, you know, because that's the name of the show. You know, that's all I got. Yeah, no, I'm really proud of the album, and I'm just really glad that people are listening to it and sharing it, and you know, taking something away from it. And I hope people continue to love it and buzz about it, and you know, hopefully we will all be able to be in the theater watching Little Black Book sometime in the very near future.
Oh, that would be so wonderful. Well, just to reemphasize, I mean, the album's amazing. I think obviously the title, it's spot on. If people only know a little bit about her, a little bit about what happens, you kind of like get this instant recognition of like, oh, I feel like I know something about this story. Let me in.
Right. And, you know, the overall context of the show is what sort of the inciting moment is that Heidi, sort of down on her luck, gets this opportunity for millions of dollars to spread the names in her Little Black Book. And she sort of has to dive back into her history and decide whether or not she is going to do it and give up her moral compass and her dignity. So yeah, I think it's a cool, evocative title that sort of covers the entire sort of Heidi Fleiss legacy.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. It's a great way to end things. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on today. Special Saturday edition. It was really wonderful to chat with you.
Thanks so much for having me, Shoshana. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. I love seeing the comments. And if you're watching this in the future, hello future. I hope it's treating you well. And this remains on forever, ever, ever. So you can share it, tell your friends. And I hope everyone is staying safe. Please wear a mask, get vaccinated when you can, take care of one another, and take care of yourselves. That's all we can really, really do in this moment and these times. So that's the most important thing, is take care of yourselves. And we'll see you at the show. Bye, y'all.
Bye.